Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there you have it. We are back and we are live. It is another brand new live edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond. Happy Tuesday morning. December 5th on your calendar. Make sure you circle December 14th on your calendar. That is going to be the 97.7 ESPN The Zone Eagle Insulation Holiday Christmas Party presented by Talent Heating and Air. Our good friends over at Talent Heating and Air helping us all make this happen. What's it going to be? Well, it's going to be this. December 14th, show up at Flow Supreme Indoor Air Sports. All you got to do is bring a toy for you, your family, your kids. If you got 3 or 4 of you, 5, 6 of you, come and bring 4 or 5 toys. Everything that we collect on December 14th, that is going to go to the Boys and Girls Club of North Alabama. If you want to bring a cash donation, bring a cash donation. We will send a shopper out and buy toys. We're going to do all this on December 14th. Bubby's Diner is going to be on hand. They're going to provide a little food for everyone. Going to begin at 5 o'clock. So get on over there. December 14th. That is on a Thursday. We want to see you there. We want to celebrate a little holiday, spread a little cheer, and give back at the same time. 256-576-4977. You can be a part of the program this morning. And no, Drew and I are not going in the transfer portal. Everybody else is going in the transfer portal. Woo! Everybody, Drew, everybody, I think, is going in the transfer portal. He's not there yet. Okay. Okay. Anyway, 256-576-4977. You can be a part of the fun, be a part of the excitement this morning. And the reason why I say that is because so far, now this is so far, there have been 1,183 football players have entered the transfer portal. Sounds like a lot, and it is, considering the transfer portal only opened up yesterday. In one day, there was 1,183 football players going into the transfer portal. We'll run down some of those big names that have gone into the transfer portal. Alabama does lose a quarterback. It's kind of an interesting story. We'll explain that. But last night, Alabama on the hardwood, taking on Arkansas State at home. And good news, Alabama back to their winning ways. A dominant victory over Arkansas State, 89-65. Alabama would lead by as many as 31 in the game, 71-40. They never trailed. They settled for a 24-point win with his team high 13 points on the night. Former Muscle Shoals standout Mark Sears, he has surpassed the 1,500-point mark. Aaron Estrada has also surpassed a milestone as he has now accumulated 1,600 career points. Alabama shot 44% from the floor, 42% from deep, 83% from the free throw line. Alabama led pretty much in all categories, 33-6 advantage in bench production, 18-8 advantage in second chance points, 27-13 advantage off points off turnovers. Alabama had 5 players in double figures, so it was a dominant win for Alabama. The question for Alabama, though, and defense has been a topic of conversation for this Crimson Tide team. Alabama head coach Nate Oates wanting a better defensive effort from his squad, saying they were going to practice defense, a lot of defensive emphasis in practice. The question is, How was their defensive effort last night?
Solid win for us. We been emphasizing defense. I thought it was decent in the first half. Still wasn't where we needed it to be, and got worse in the second half. But I think we're making improvements on that side of the ball. I'll say it's good to have Brian back in Arkansas State. I mean, I got an entire new coaching staff, and Coach Pannone runs our defense. He was talking about, they don't have their full roster, obviously, and I know how it is coming into a program in the first year, trying to install a system that they're not used to playing. He's trying to get his guys to play fast, make quick decisions, come down without a roster. And he's a great recruiter, and he'll get that roster set here pretty quick. But they knew all our play calls. We knew all their play calls. It's kind of how it was. They're running the same system we are. But he's in year one, trying to establish it. I think he's doing a pretty good job. And they had 3 guys down. But as far as us, I mean, we needed to get this win. We needed to play better on defense. We did that. They exposed a few things that we need to work on. Our defensive rebounding needs major work before we play Purdue, giving up 15-0 boards against them tonight. But we've got a tough 3-game stretch out of us. So we're going to continue to work on our defense, try to get it better, and see what we can do in this next 3-game stretch here.
That was Alabama head coach Nate Oates after Alabama's dominant win last night over Arkansas State. Let's go out to the phone lines real fast. LC with us this morning. Good morning, LC.
Morning, guys. Hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about the playoffs and so forth.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. College football, my understanding, is the second most popular sport in the country next to the NFL. And that Georgia TCU game last year, I know I didn't watch the second half. I imagine the advertisers weren't too crazy about the situation, paying all the money they pay for eyes to be watching the game. And I would think people had to go to work the next day, and millions of people turned that game off. I really think that might be a factor, a pretty big factor in FSU. I know there's other factors, but in FSU, unfortunately for them being left out, I tried to watch the FSU Louisville game, and I went to bed and said, I'll just open my phone up in the morning and see who won. There was hardly any offense. It was a bore fest. And then the Alabama-Georgia game was just dramatic, exciting. I would think the numbers would be out the roof to that game, the viewership. So such a contrast, and I just think that might have been a factor. I just wanted y'all's take on that.
Well, it could be. Without Florida State having Jordan Travis, and this is – the committee's kind of getting a lot of backlash for that too, because if Jordan Travis is supposed to be as important as he is, Jordan Travis did not get a Heisman invite. I think the committee looked at it and said, hey, look, and in their rules or whatever they want to call it, it says in there a player's injury, available or not available, will affect their ranking. And I don't know. I think there's there's definitely a lot of backlash about Florida State being in there. My thing is were they one of the most deserving teams? Probably not.
And
yes,
Scott,
they went.
What about? Excuse me, but what about Texas? They lost the game.
Yeah.
Where's the backlash about Texas getting in? It seems like they love to pile on Alabama, but
no, they do. And I think what it is because Alabama's sitting in the 4th spot. Everybody assumes that Alabama was the one that kept Florida State out because they were sitting in the 4th spot, when really It was Texas in the 3 spot that kept Florida State out. Because if Georgia had beaten Alabama, Georgia would have been number 1, Florida State would have been number 3, Texas would have been number 4.
Yeah.
So by the virtue of Alabama beating Georgia, Texas moves into that 3 spot where Florida State would have been. So really, I mean, the committee had to have been sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, come on. I mean, I know that they probably had it all taken care of. Scenarios, if Alabama beats Georgia, Georgia wins here, Texas, all that stuff. And I guarantee you that committee was probably like, oh, just if Georgia can win, our lives will be a lot easier and we won't get a lot of backlash.
Scott, that's good points. What Bama needs to do is finish this thing out and win it all and shut them all up, and we'll see what happens. Good stuff, Scott. Have a good show. Love your show.
Thanks.
Roll Tide.
Thanks. Hopefully Mr. DeArmond will be here in a minute. Is he back with us? He is here.
I
Okay.
hope so.
Okay.
Technology sucks.
Well, sometimes you. Oh, my goodness. So LC was just talking there, and we got more calls. Let's go to Jeff from the Borough. Good morning, Jeff.
No. I don't, I ain't going to play it, dude. No.
What's up, Jeff?
How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Can you not work
Doing
technology, dude? Can you not work technology? That's the problem. You can't work that or something? I didn't know. But I did want to say, Scott, did you hear about Tennessee's arrest this morning?
I did not. I've not seen that.
James Pierce, they stopped him, traffic stop. He was going 63 to 35 mile zone. They got him for speeding, driving on suspended license. He didn't have any insurance. Couldn't show him no insurance. He had his windows were improperly tinted, and he didn't have his registration displayed properly. So he got a little butts in his guy. But his court date is December 12th, so I can promise you he'll be playing in the bowl game. And that's the way Tennessee is. If they can get him in the bowl game, they'll get him in. I can promise you. That's the way the balls are. See, when you wear orange of Tennessee, Scott, it gets you ready for being arrested. I know you didn't know that, because I know you think Tennessee has a resurgence in that. They've been surging so much the last couple of years. They've just surged. They went way on up ahead of everybody else. But I did want to say after Saturday's Alabama and Georgia game, since the pandemic year, and this is the Eastern Division. I don't have the West in front of me, but the Eastern Division, Georgia has its number one with, and Alabama is tied 49 wins each. In the Eastern Division, Tennessee, Kentucky are tied 29 wins. Missouri has 27, Florida 25, South Carolina 22, and Vanderbilt 9. Florida, the powerful Florida Gators, we know, they're just so powerful in college football. This decade, since the pandemic, they are 25 and 25. And 3 straight losing seasons. Is that correct?
For who?
For Florida.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Is that correct? They're 25 and 25 in this decade.
Yes.
The pandemic year. The pandemic. And Missouri, like I said, Kentucky and Tennessee are tied. They have 29 wins. And like I said, Missouri, Florida, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt in the East. And I know, but I think Ole Miss is second to Alabama. I think LSU's third. They got 30 wins. Ole Miss has 33. I can't remember. And I know Auburn and Arkansas were down at the bottom. They were the bottom two. They have 23 wins. They have losing records since the pandemic year, which I know Drew wants to go back and relive all over again. I heard him say about the Rose Bowl that we didn't have the Rose Bowl because of Joe Biden. I know he's just over there controlling college football, telling people when to play instead. I know he's doing that, but and everything. But I'd rather have him. I'd rather have a sleep Joe Biden and have the crook Donald Trump in the White House any day of the week. I'll just take him.
Well, that shows how stupid you are, Jeff.
No,
You never leave
Biden,
your liberty. You never
Biden,
remove any doubt,
Biden,
usually, bud.
He's a crook. Trump's a crook, and you know it. So
He's
y'all
not
have
a
good day
crook.
during
He's
the
made
playoffs.
more money than you'll ever see in your life, and he ran the country correctly, you doofus brain. Get off the radio.
Oh, who else we got there, Bailey? All right, let's go to Jared real fast before the break. Good morning, Jared.
Hey,
Hey, remember,
morning,
everybody,
guys.
Jeff just said Joe Biden's doing things the right way. Shows you that he's the moron of the year. He just sealed the award. Of course, that dumbass will be moron of the year every year. Hope he never comes across me face to face because he's going to lose. I'll throw him in a trash can. because that's where he deserves to go. And then go watch UNC Wilmington, a real basketball team that just whipped Kentucky's ass all over Rupp Arena.
Oh, all right, Jared.
Notice he didn't bring that up since his cute cats aren't any good.
He didn't. All right, Jared, your turn.
Hey, and I'll just say that might not be even the dumbest thing I've heard him say, but that's besides the point. Let me just go ahead and start by saying I know everyone's tired of talking about it, but the playoff thing, you know, I'm a Bama fan. The wife and her whole family's Florida State fans, so you can imagine what that's been like for the last couple of days. The thing is, you know, Greeny was on ESPN talking about, why are we using people when we should be using computers? Well, we had that. It was called the BCS. Nobody liked that. BCS actually had Bama 3, FSU 4, and Texas out. So I'm just saying, why are we mad at Bama? We should be mad at Texas. Also, y'all letting Michigan, who've been cheating for the last 3 years in, and nobody wants to have a conversation about that at all. That's also kind of strange to me as well. So I don't know. You add that up with 4 to 5 guys in the ACC making those decisions on the committee, and they still left Florida State out. I don't know why Bama's getting all the hate, but you know what? We're the villains again, and I couldn't love it anymore.
Thanks for the phone call, Jared. Hey, so, Drew, I just pulled this up, and this is good. Our good friend Wes Colley, has the Colley Matrix poll, and it was part of the BCS computer ranking systems, and Wes Colley's a professor over at UAH. Here is Wes Colley's top 4. You ready for this? Washington, Michigan, Texas, and Alabama. Florida State 5th.
Well, he got it right this time.
Yeah, all 4. So if Wes Colley's matrix poll and Greeny says, we need to go back to the computers, this is the computer poll, Florida State's still out in the computer poll. Florida State wouldn't have made it in one of the BCS computer polls. Florida State still would have been on the outside looking in. So maybe the committee is a little bit smarter than people give them credit for at times. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll get more of your phone calls, 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Sounds like we've got a major accident working on Highway 24 in Lawrence County. That's going to be east of Moulton. It's at County Road 359. They've got eastbound down to 1 lane. Got a wreck on I-65 northbound at the 334. One on 565 near Mooresville Road. Both of those are reporting as no injury. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Allison lost 100 pounds in 7 months on the program. A free hormone quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff, Popeye, Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Philip Love of not only Eagle Insulation, now he represents Eagle Companies. Eagle through the years have added several companies to help individuals or builders through their construction renovation process. Eagle is known to represent quality, efficiency, and professionalism. Philip, I know you do insulation, but do you do masonry?
We do.
Do you do grading, erosion control, and dirt hauled off?
We do.
Do you do afterpaint, which includes shower doors, mirrors, shelving blinds, and bath hardware?
Yes, we do, Wes.
Do you do landscaping and irrigation?
Yes, we do.
So basically, Eagle can help you all along your process of building your house or doing renovations. So do you do plumbing?
We do not, Wes, but we can find somebody to do it.
Just give them time. They'll be there. Anyway, call Eagle Insulation at
256-755-1556.
Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Call Eagle today.
Thanks, Wes.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
Hey there, UAH fans. I'm Morris Lilienthal. If you've been injured in an accident, visit morristheattorney.com right now to get the help you need. Don't let the insurance company take advantage of you. I have personally helped over 4,000 clients with their injury claims, and I'm ready to help you too. My firm, Martinson & Beeson, has been helping clients for over 80 years, and we have received over 300 5-star Google reviews. Get in touch with me right now by visiting morristheattorney.com. There's no charge for our meeting. Again, that's morristheattorney.com. Look forward to helping you. Go Chargers.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
What if I told you that Bigfoot is real and that he's making the best donuts you've ever had? Come see for yourself at Bigfoot's Little Donuts. Come in and order from over 50 flavors, all made hot and delicious. Ranked in the top 100 donut shops in the nation by Yelp. Bigfoot Little Donuts. Order in store or online at bigfootslittledonuts.com for pickup or delivery from Grub South or DoorDash. South Parkway, Huntsville, and County Line Road, Madison. Bigfoot's Little Donuts.
With us today, Dr. Tracy Lowry of Best Vein Care of Huntsville.
When we evaluate a patient and they indeed have significant venous disease, most third-party payers, private insurance, Medicare, require us to treat every patient conservatively at least 90 days. Conservative treatment includes increasing ambulation, elevation of the legs, and the wearing of compression stockings. It's very common for folks to come see us in March or April wanting to have their veins fixed before they go into swimsuits starting in June. When we see someone in March or April, they're going to require at least 90 days of conservative treatment before we can even go to the insurance carrier to get permission to treat their veins. So if you think you have a venous problem, now is the time to come in and get a free screening so we can determine whether or not you need something evaluated. If you have a vein problem or you think you may have a vein problem, now's the time to contact us at bestveincarehuntsville.com.
Rambo Marine in Hazel Green is your one-stop shop for all things boating. Whether you are ready to surf with the newest Malibu wake boat or cruise on a Cobalt or Barletta pontoon, we have a boat ready for you and your family. Rambo Marine provides exceptional service second to none, so that you are ready to hit the water in no time. Stop by Rambo Marine today. We know boats.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Back talking ball 97.7 ESPN, the Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. And Drew, did you see this story? Before we get back out to the phone lines, Alabama had their annual banquet on Sunday, and Nick Saban revealing that somehow his phone number, his cell phone number, got leaked, and he had about 250 anonymous callers call him, and he said mostly from the state of Florida, talking about how Alabama shouldn't be in the playoffs.
Yeah. When you have an idiot in the White House, that's what happens.
How did that get numbers out?
I have no idea. Because I certainly don't have the bat phone number. I mean, I would think that head coaches, especially on the college level, and you know how it is now, Scott. Yeah. You used to be able to, Mike Griffith has told stories on our show about having Gene Stallings' phone number. This is not a cell phone number. This means a landline. and calling him on the phone and asking him questions. But that was in a bygone era. Now it's an act of Congress just to, get the chance to interview a coach. So, I mean, I would think most of them did not have they do not share their phone numbers.
Yeah.
So
I have no idea how this
you get that. I mean, now, and of course, Coach Saban doesn't even have like X or Facebook or any of that crap.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now certain coaches you could maybe reach through a Twitter account or whatever, X account, and maybe send them messages and stuff like that. How they got his number, I have no idea. And so that would just be another black mark against our current administration that a bunch of lunatic Florida State fans can get Nick Saban's phone number and blow him up. How the heck does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
He said he kind of laughed in the banquet apparently and said that that most of them were from Florida, but still 250 anonymous callers. And he said they called him every name in the book, talking about how he shouldn't be in the playoffs.
Like it's his fault, he rigged the voting, Scott. Just like what Jeff from the Dumbo just said, that it's all he blamed Trump for it.
Yeah,
so
like Nick Saban flew down to Grapevine, Texas on Sunday and sat in the committee room and said, "You're gonna put us in."
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane, man. It's just like a Kentucky fan and Booster didn't put all the $1,000 in the envelope to Chris Mills, right?
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Jason is with us. Good morning, Jason.
Hey, good morning. Hey,
Morning.
I can tell you, it would take somebody, a trusted reporter that he respects, like somebody maybe that works for ESPN, to leak it. That'd be the only way.
Well, I mean, maybe somebody hacked Chris Lowe's phone. I don't know, because Chris Lowe seems to have the bat phone to all these coaches. But I mean, or at least their handlers. I don't know, man. When I read that story, I thought that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Now I've heard of things like Tim Tebow's number getting leaked out, and he gets blown up with calls when he was playing. John Parker Wilson said that happened to him one time.
Isn't LSU synonymous for getting a hold of players' phone numbers or something?
Yeah,
like that?
I mean, I've heard those stories with players, but I've never heard of a head coach, especially one that is, I don't know, as much a creature of habit and as anal retentive as Saban is. He doesn't just share his cell phone number. I mean, for what I understand, he barely even texts. So, I mean, that was a pretty crazy story hearing that.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, you almost got the formula right on the BCS bowl deal a while ago. What people don't realize, Florida State, unless Alabama and Texas lost the bowl cost, their championship games, they was not going. If Alabama loses, Georgia still won is Michigan, Washington, and then Texas.
Florida State would have been in. If Georgia would have won, I'm pretty sure Florida State would have been the 4th seed, but they would have been into the playoffs.
I believe Texas would have jumped them because they had the better team. Texas went from 7 to 3.
Yeah, Texas would have remained at 3, I think.
Yeah, and your 4 would have been Georgia, Washington, Michigan, Texas.
Now, in this scenario, are you guys talking about if Alabama had lost to Auburn but still beat Georgia?
No, if Alabama would have lost to Georgia,
Georgia would have been the 1 seed, Michigan would have been the 2, and then I believe, and then Washington would have been the 3 because they beat Oregon. Then it would have come down to a Texas and Florida State situation, Jason. I think that's what you were saying, and I'll be honest with you. With Florida State and they're being down to their 3rd quarterback, Scott, I think the Longhorns still would have jumped them. Now, if Florida State if for some reason their QB, if Rodenbach had been able to play and they won the game, I don't know, 28-6, if he had played well, then maybe your scenario is correct. But I just think no matter what, the way everything worked out with Florida State being down to a 3rd quarterback and not being very impressive, the Longhorns would have had a win over Alabama, who just would have just missed the playoff. And I think there would have been a ton of conversation. Now, maybe you're right, Scott. Maybe they would have felt that Florida State had done enough to go get slaughtered at Georgia, 55-3.
Maybe.
And be firm, and instead of Wofford Furman making the playoffs. But I just really – I'll just be honest. What we saw on Saturday from Florida State in that connotation, I don't think that there's any way they get in the playoff over Alabama or Texas. Now, I did say this. If Jordan Travis hadn't got hurt against UNA, if they had and this takes into account Alabama and Texas, if he had stayed healthy and they beat Louisville 45-6 or whatever because they're a much better team with Jordan Travis, then I think then they would have got in the playoff because they would have looked much better. Especially if Georgia had beaten Alabama, then it would have been easy. It would have been a healthy Jordan Travis. You got 4 undefeated teams and just take them. And I told you guys last week, secretly, the committee's never going to admit it, but secretly that's what the committee would have wanted because it makes their job easy.
Yeah.
You got 4 layups right there. But I was right. I just said they're not going to be chalk. There was more chalk than I thought there would be, but it's not going to be easy on them. And as soon as Alabama beat Georgia, that carried so much weight with the committee. And then we didn't know really until the day of the game that Florida State might be down to a third QB. And when they were, and you watch that game unfold, and I know Rodenbach would be back, but if you go back and watch the way they looked against Florida's Jeff from the Dumbo just said it himself. He said they've got 3 straight losing seasons. They were down 12-0 to that slapdick Florida team. Okay,
you got a number 2 seed and a number 3 seed having a battle, and then you got the 1 seed playing a team with a third-string quarterback. There's no battle there. That takes away the fairness of the deal.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Jason. I just think it was some bad circumstances for FSU. Everything kind of didn't go their way except for the results of the game. But I mean, to me, I don't care what any of these idiots say. You have to go with the eye test and who you think the better team is. I don't believe in all this, they're the most deserving team, because guess what? All conferences aren't created equal. It doesn't matter if you're a Power 5 conference because the ACC was not a Power 5 conference as far as the caliber of the football they played this year. Nobody in that league was very good by the end of the season, including Florida State, who I know they were undefeated. But, I mean, the biggest question to ask is, would Florida State be favored against any of those teams?
Probably not. No.
Matter of fact, would Florida State come within 1 score of any of the teams that made the playoffs? They would not. They would get smoked.
Thanks for the phone call, Jason. I want to get to Husky Dan real fast before the break. Good morning, Husky Dan.
Hey, guys, how you doing, man? Jeff must have said one of the dumbest – I've heard him say some dumb things, but, I mean, that's got to be why would somebody, sell their house on the water and move out to Alabama, Tennessee? It's because of those stupid liberal policies that I'm here. I'm a Husky fan in Alabama. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I wanted to talk about the Huskies because everyone just keeps writing them off, and they did that. I know you said the eye test, but the eye test doesn't always work because, the eye test worked. You could see the eye test on Saturday, but it was like they were playing a preseason the whole year.
Yeah.
And they weren't showing a lot. Grubb was very vanilla all year, not showing a lot. And then against Oregon, both times they looked like a different team as far as how innovative they are on offense. So we're right in the spot where we want to be. I love playing in. I don't think Penix has lost in a dome. I mean, it's like the St. Louis Rams did pretty much. When our receivers up there when they won those titles. But you put us on a track. We played Texas before, and we romped all over them. The score was closer than it looks. They got a garbage touchdown at the end, but and I know they're a different team, a little different, but it's pretty much the same team. It's yours. It's some of the same receivers. We got, an NFL corner, and we got more experience, and we have the best wide receivers and the best quarterback in the playoffs right now, and the best coach that's not named Nick Saban.
Well, I'll say this: I did not think Washington would win against Oregon, but
I didn't either. But I give them credit for doing so. Yeah.
I also didn't realize Washington had gotten healthy as they did going into that game either. I didn't realize their wide receivers would be back and be as healthy as they were. And that was a reason why their offense had struggled for like the last 2-3 weeks, is they were not a healthy ball club. They got back there. They did. They looked good in Las Vegas against Oregon. The question now is, can they do it in Texas's backyard? Because Texas will have, I think, home field advantage there in the Sugar Bowl. And
they played Mexico and did it. So,
yeah.
I mean, in the whole game. And Stark needed to win that game because people were questioning his job. And I'll take DeBoer over Stark all day. I mean, I watched Stark coach enough games to know this was his best coaching job this year. But I like the way it's – and then it's going to be us against Alabama, I'm pretty sure. And, I mean, we have a lot of NFL players. I mean, there's 20-year-old guys, but Washington is loaded with NFL players. They didn't draft. There was hardly anybody drafted last year. But, we got defensive linemen that are going in the NFL. We have 2 or 3. We have a corner that's going in the NFL. Mike Penix is the most experienced quarterback.
Yep.
Roma Duzic could play tomorrow for the Giants. You could lace him up, and he could play tomorrow. I mean, that team's loaded. I really like our chances.
All right, Husky Dan, thanks for the phone call. We got to get a break in. Nick and Clark, hold tight. As soon as this break is over, we are coming to you. I promise.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 50s. It'll be chilly through the overnight, early into your Wednesday morning. Bundle up as you head out the door on Wednesday morning. We're going to start the day in the mid 30s. A mostly sunny sky Wednesday afternoon. It is going to be much cooler Wednesday afternoon across the Tennessee Valley, instead of the upper 50s and lower 60s that we could see on Tuesday, dropping into the lower 30s through the overnight, early Thursday morning. A mostly sunny sky Thursday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid 50s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a major accident working in Lawrence County. Highway 24, County Road 359. It's between Moulton and the Morgan County line. They had eastbound traffic down to one lane at last report. And we've got one on I-65 northbound at the 334 that's trying to clear. One on 565 at Mooresville Road that should be out of the way quickly. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Slow down or move over. It is the law. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing. We have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates. Residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. I said we'd go out to the phone lines. That's exactly where we go. We welcome in Nick this morning. Good morning, Nick.
Morning, Nick.
Good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good.
Hey, good. Hey, so just a few quick things. Number one, Roll Tide, right? I'm glad to see Alabama got in. Number two, to go back a few phone calls. Y'all were talking about, no one likes to see everybody talk, say, oh, well, who's most deserving, right? Even if you look at Florida State, right, and you say, oh, well, they're most deserving, are they really versus Texas? Texas had the number one strength of schedule this season and only lost one game, and they lost to their rival. We all know how the rival games are. I mean, you look at Alabama-Auburn, you look at, Ohio versus Michigan, and then you look at Texas versus Oklahoma. They lost to a very close game, was it 4 points to their biggest rival.
Oklahoma scored in the last second to win it. I mean, it came down to literally like the last 20 seconds of the game.
Right.
Right. So you have that close of a game to your rival, right? How is if you want to go by the most deserving standard, Texas is still most deserving over Florida State, just based on their strength of schedule and what they had to do this season. That's my opinion on that, right? And then thirdly and last, everybody. And then again, this is my opinion again. You look at Washington, and then when I look at Washington, I think of TCU last year, right, versus Georgia. And the reason I say that is because Washington's schedule. Yes, of course they're undefeated, but they really haven't played anybody good. And I get that they had injuries in the last few weeks, and those last few wins were very, very close wins. I mean, you're looking at them winning 22-20 over Oregon State. They had a one-score game over Utah. They had a very close game. Well, not very close. They won 15-7 versus Arizona State, and they barely pulled out wins versus Oregon both times. Was it 3 points each time? So, and if you look at, you can say, okay, well, their last few games were close because they had injuries. That tells you that they don't have a deep talent pool of players. So if you go down a few players, well, your talent's not there anymore. So that's kind of a scary thing for Washington, I think.
Well, I'll just say this, Nick, and I only way I'll slightly disagree with you is and this is where I was talking to Husky Dan about eye test. Sometimes he says the eye test doesn't, it'll lie to you. Most of the time, I don't think so. I have believed that Washington was one of the, 4 best teams for the majority of the season. I do think the Pac-12 is a good league. It was a surprisingly good league this year. I think that in the regular season, the SEC and the Pac-12 were the 2 best conferences.
Right.
I do agree that they weren't pretty in some of the wins, no question about that. And I think that's why Scott and I were picking Oregon to beat them. And I saw that first Oregon-Washington game, and I really thought Oregon should have won the game, took too many chances, and was the better team. But Oregon ran the ball really, really well against them the first time. This time I thought Washington with Dylan Johnson ran the ball really well, was very balanced against Oregon, won the game, and really controlled the game throughout. Oregon made a run, but Washington closed them out. And I just think overall, when you look at them, I'm just talking about from last year to this year. I mean, Scott and I even talked about it a year ago. When TCU lost to Kansas State, I didn't think they were one of the 4 best teams. I still don't, and they played the national championship game. And Michigan gave away an opportunity. I think that this Washington team is better than that TCU team. I like Penix better than Max Duggan. And I just think that they're a much more competitive team. I think they're much more talented. And so I just think when you look at it, you go back and look at last season, you're talking about the Kings in the last second wins, it was TCU. And honestly, the two best teams in the country last year, the national championship game was played when Ohio State played Georgia. Okay. They played in the semifinals because that's the way it was seeded. You saw what a great game that was. Ohio State controlled the game for much of it, probably should have won it. And then, as usual, Ryan Day choked it away because that's what he does in big games. But still, I felt – and I know that Ohio State team lost to Michigan, but I think they were better than Michigan. I just think in the last 2 to 3 years, Ryan Day has squandered a lot of talent at Ohio State. But, again, I just feel like overall that this Washington team is definitely one of the top 4. And I don't know if they're going to win it. I mean, I do think people are kind of forgetting it, and myself as well, that Washington did beat Texas last year in the bowl game. But as Scott and I have told you many times, a lot of these bowl games outside of the playoff, it's hard to get a true read on it because so many guys opt out.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, I get that, and I agree with that. You know, I hope. I hope the best for them. Right. I think it'll be a good game.
I think both of them are going to be good games. I think they're good matchups, but I like Alabama and Texas. I'm not going to deviate, but I certainly have tons of respect for Washington, and they deserve to be where they are.
Nick, thanks for the phone call. Did we overvalue the Pac-12? I mean, I'm looking at it now, and Washington and Oregon were really good. Arizona was a surprise. Okay, Jed Fish, 7-2 in the conference. What they did was remarkable because that program was a disaster, and they turned that around. Oregon State was decent. Utah never turned out to be as good as what I think people thought they were because they didn't have Cam Rising, so they never really got on track. Outside of that, I mean, USC was 5-4 in the conference. Utah was 5-4. They had 6 teams 500 or better in the conference. The SEC had 7 teams better than that in the conference, 500 or better. Did we overvalue the Pac-12? I mean, and not taking away from Washington and Oregon at all, because what they did was great. But if we overvalued the Pac-12?
Not too much, because I'll be honest with you, the Pac-12 had been such whale dung for so many years. Think about it, Scott. I mean, the last time they had made the playoff was Washington in 2016 under Chris Peterson.
Right.
So I think considering from where they came from and even the expectations going into this season, because I think a lot of people liked Oregon, but they weren't sure how good they would be. Certainly Washington was a favorite going in, and they lived up to it. And then I thought Jed Fish did a great job at Arizona. You talked about that, no doubt about it. And then, even their bottom feeder squads, and I think what got the Pac-12 some notoriety early in the first month was Colorado, even though they're leaving. But Colorado won the first 3. Coach Prime made a bunch of waves. Now, is the Pac-12 – I'll just be honest with you. I made some statements during the season that I thought the Pac-12 might have been the best league.
Yeah.
But I don't think by the end that it was. I think the SEC was better.
That's where I was kind of going with that, is that
I will
great.
say the Pac-12 is second. I would still put them a solid second.
Right.
Because I don't think there's and I made this statement, and I'm sticking to this. I still don't think there's a dominant team in college football, because you could easily see the Georgia team this year. They had a great year until they lost to Alabama, but they weren't as good as a year ago.
Well,
okay.
No.
And Alabama, this Alabama team's better than the Alabama team last year, but I just don't think there's a dominant team in college football. So I don't disagree with Husky Dan. I think there is a scenario where if Washington plays really well and protects the ball and gets healthy, are they talented enough to win it with the way DeBoer can throw the ball? Of course.
Yes.
I think Washington is good enough to win it. I think all 4 of these teams are good enough. Michigan aesthetically is not, flashy, but they certainly are very talented, very hard nosed, and they're well coached, and they better be well coached considering that they probably got everybody's signals in America.
All right, let's get a break in. When we come back and wrap up hour number 1, 256-576-4977. It's Talking Ball.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Should be down to just one accident now. That's the one in Lawrence County. Highway 24 and County Road 359. They've had eastbound traffic down to one lane. A very serious accident there. Everything else seems to be in great shape this morning. You be careful as you make the rest of your trip in. It looks like we may have quite a few folks that are running last minute this morning. Are you ready to be your best? QFit Sports Performance Training and Fitness can help. It's not a group program. It's intense one-on-one training at QFit Relentless, 256-497-9075. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes, Skywatch Traffic Center.
Watch the Alabama High School Super 7 Football Championship presented by Alabama Community College System December 6th through the 8th on Alabama Public Television. It's all the gut-wrenching, hard-hitting, high-flying action you've come to expect from...
Wait, Alabama Public Television? Okay.
Watch every game live December 6th through the 8th only on your new home for high school sports, APT.
From heirloom diamonds to contemporary jewels, Loring & Company is the place to find something truly special. Whether shopping for a diamond ring for that once-in-a-lifetime occasion or marking a milestone birthday or personal achievement with a Rolex watch, you'll find just the thing in our edit of the world's most sought-after brands, including David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Marco Bicego, and Fopé. Expect a treasure trove of the world's most unique, even breathtaking earrings, rings, necklaces, and bracelets, making choosing just one piece a challenge in itself. Loring & Company Jewelers on Airport Road.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Crain Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Crain Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at GenSuperstore.com.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And I mentioned off the top of the show, Drew and I are not going into the transfer portal. Just everybody else is going into the transfer portal. If you missed it off the top of the show, yesterday the transfer portal window opened, and only, and I say only, 1,183 players went into the portal.
Well, it's one of those things where I was watching some stuff yesterday from others that I respect in the media, and they were all, saying they were having to refresh their phones or check every 15 minutes because guys like Chris Hummer, who we're going to talk to in a few minutes on the show, Matt Zenitz, all these guys that are kind of portal gurus. They were breaking stories left and right yesterday about guys going into the transfer portal. Alabama may have had the weirdest one.
I was just going to say that was the strangest one, and I'll just say this: Tyler Buckner is in the transfer portal to play lacrosse,
and he's going back to the school that he left. How crazy is that?
He's going back to Notre Dame.
Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
He's going back to Notre Dame. That is a bold strategy, Cotton. He is going back to Notre Dame to play lacrosse.
Yeah.
Because he can do this and be eligible immediately. That is the caveat there. If he went back to play football, he'd have to sit out a year. Going to play lacrosse, he does not have to sit out.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. He's going to finish the semester at Alabama. He's going to, from what I understand, he's still going to be with the football team, to finish their journey. And then I guess he's going to pack up his U-Haul, go back to South Bend, Indiana, re-enroll at Notre Dame, and then, I guess on ESPNU or, Ocho or whatever the hell they call it. We'll be able to see some lacrosse later in the after January in the second semester, and if we tune in and Notre Dame's playing, we'll see Tyler Buckner in an Irish uniform. Just nuts.
I mean, crazy. I mean, I saw that and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it too. I mean, he was committed to Michigan, Scott, in high school before he decided to pursue football, and then he ended up at Notre Dame. So he was a high-level lacrosse player in high school, obviously, okay? And now, but what's so crazy is you leave Notre Dame, you go to Alabama basically for a semester because you weren't there in the last spring. You didn't get to Alabama until June. You go to Alabama for a little over a semester, and then you go back to Notre Dame to play lacrosse. I mean, what? As soon as I saw he was going to the transfer portal, was I surprised? No, but I thought, good Lord, he's not even going back. And then I was talking to some beat writers last night and listening to some conversations. Sounds like the whole thing got leaked because of a guy, Tyler Buckner, eats Chick-fil-A every morning. He told the guy at Chick-fil-A, probably leaving.
Leaving to go to, oh my goodness. Well, anyway, Tyler Buckner is a quarterback, and he's going into the transfer portal. Here are a list of the other quarterbacks right now that are in the transfer portal, and these are not guys that have just taken a snap or two. These are prominent starters in college football that are in the transfer portal. Kyle McCord, Ohio State starting quarterback, in the portal. Dylan Gabriel, Oklahoma starting quarterback, in the transfer portal. Cam Ward, in the transfer portal. Washington State starting quarterback.
Yep.
Dante Moore, UCLA starting quarterback, in the transfer portal.
Well, let me correct something. He wasn't their starter.
Okay, I thought he started.
No, he played a little bit, but he's a guy that they had the majority of the season he did not play. But and that's why he's kind of said he still needs to develop. But he was a 5-star though. He was a top 5 recruit because I think he was committed to Michigan and then he flipped to UCLA.
Riley Leonard, starting quarterback for Duke, in the transfer portal.
Speaking of Notre Dame, he's supposed to be on their campus this week, Scott.
Yes, he is. He's got a 2-day visit set up. Grayson McCall, that name was in the portal last year. Remember, Grayson McCall was in the portal last year.
Yeah, we thought he was going to go to Auburn and be Hugh Freeze's quarterback.
Yep, Coastal Carolina. Tyler Van Dyke, Miami quarterback, in the portal.
Yeah, I wonder, he got that NIL raise right before the season and still fell on his face. You get to keep all that?
Will Howard, Will Rogers, in the transfer portal, Mississippi State.
Kansas State, yep.
And DJU is back in the portal. Well,
DJ Uiagalelei overrated. Yep.
His coach left though. His coach went to Michigan State.
His coach went to Michigan State. Yeah, that's right.
So he departed. All right. Speaking of the transfer portal and everything that goes with it, Chris Hummer is going to be with us here in a couple minutes, and we're going to go over some of this transfer portal stuff. I mean, it's just bonkers. I mean, that's about the best way to describe it. It's crazy. And it just opened yesterday.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Take the guesswork out of your holiday gifts. OmahaSteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and save an additional $30 with promo code VSIN. OmahaSteaks.com.
NBA in-season tournament quarterfinals tonight. The Bucks by 4.5 against the Knicks. New York plus 180. The Lakers by 1.5 against the Suns. Phoenix plus 110. The Heisman Trophy finalists have been announced. LSU's Jaden Daniels, Oregon's Bo Nix, and Washington's Michael Penix Jr., joined by Ohio State's Marvin Harrison Jr. Jaden Daniels, the betting favorite at plus 180. Penix Jr. plus 1,800. Nix plus 2,500. Harrison plus 25,000. College football playoff New Year's Day, Michigan by 1.5 against Alabama, Texas by 4 against Washington. Get the latest lines and more at vsin.com.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
It is hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And to close out hour number 1, we were talking about the transfer portal. Transfer portal officially opened yesterday, and I believe the window is 30 days. So players have 30 days to put their name into the transfer portal. Doesn't mean you have to decide where you're going. You just have to put your name in the portal. And according to On3 yesterday, 1,183 FBS football players put their name in the transfer portal alone.
Portal officially opened. There had already been some leaks of guys that were very likely going in. Our next guest does a great job covering college football nationally. He's also, since the transfer portal became such a topic du jour in the last few seasons, been in charge of that portal. He now has some reinforcements with my good friend Matt Zenitz now moving over to 24/7 Sports. But, of course, we're talking about Chris Hummer, and he has been a very busy guy in the last couple of days monitoring all this movement, and he's with us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Good morning, Chris. You're with Drew and Scott.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? How are y'all?
Doing good.
We're good. I mean, okay, I've got to ask, because we just talked about it at the end of the hour, is this the first time you've seen a kid transfer back to the same school and play lacrosse?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Shout out to Tyler Buckner. College football legend, lacrosse legend.
Yeah. So the window opens yesterday. I mean, we knew we'd see a rush of players go into the portal. Are we surprised at the number of players that went in just the first day?
I'm not, honestly. I know that sounds ridiculous given the volume, but that's just the way college football's been trending. I think officially we had a total of, I have the numbers right in front of me, 631 FBS players enter yesterday. I think there were 559 going into the day. So the total more than doubled. And that's just kind of where we're at. The NCAA's windows have shortened the amount of time players have to enter, obviously. And that means the majority of them will go in immediately because it's easier to get a spot if you get in more quickly because schools have more time to evaluate you and offer you. And that's just kind of where we're at in college football. I've said this multiple times, just like talking to people like on radio and video and stuff. But the transfer portal used to be a kind of a novelty, right? Like it was a fun thing to talk about. It was different. It was new. Now it's just an established roster building tool. Schools use it everywhere. It is something that helped Florida State go 13-0 this season. Maybe it didn't help Florida State get into the playoff, but that's another conversation. It's something a school like SMU used to win the American this year. We saw LSU a season ago use it. And it's just the reality of college football right now. It's what people do, and it's what players do too. So, no, not surprised at all.
Well, Chris, I was reading stories out there about kids going into the portal, and I know the portal officially opened yesterday, but you were even hearing of kids already making visits this past weekend. How exactly does that work? Can you visit before the portal officially opens? I mean, or is that a gray area? I mean, you follow the process, and Scott and I have even had a young man from our community on the show. He kind of explained what you have to do to go into the portal, and he went from Georgia State to USC this year and played for Lincoln Riley and Jamil Muhammad. But and that shows you too how the process, even though it's not as easy as you would think, you still got to do paperwork, you've still got to get permission from coaches and dot I's and cross T's and stuff. But how does that work exactly? When can you start making visits?
You can start making visits as a transfer as soon as the calendar allows anybody to make visits. So whenever there's a contact period or a quiet period, you can make visits to campus. The reason why kids were able to make visits this weekend is because some players are already in the portal.
Gotcha.
The transfer portal is open year-round for graduate transfers, so they're allowed to enter.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Undergraduates can only enter in a certain amount of time.
Gotcha.
The portal's also open for players whose head coaches have left within a 30-day period.
There you go.
So, for example, if you're at, I don't know, like Texas A&M, a player could have entered well ahead of the portal because of the Jimbo Fisher firing. So there are scenarios that allow kids to do it.
Well, you look at the transfer portal, and we knew it had the potential to be crazy. We knew there was a potential to see big names go into the portal. The quarterback spot going to get a lot of attention, and rightfully so. But, boy, I did not think we would see this many big-time starting quarterbacks go into the portal.
Yeah, the only one that really caught me by surprise, to be honest, and not even totally by surprise, was Kyle McCord. It was more the timing of that one that surprised me a bit, but that had been rumored on the back end. And again, like, we're just this NIL era compounded with the transfer portal era, in addition to the COVID era, has really created an environment ripe for transfers. These kids are staying 5, 6, 7 years in some cases. I believe there's a Miami tight end, Cam McCormick, who's applying for a 9th season. And at that point, you tend to see players move around. And you tend to see players move around multiple times. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is going to be on his 3rd school. I remember covering Dylan Gabriel's initial transfer recruitment when he flipped from UCLA to Oklahoma at the last second. Like, he's been doing this for a while, and we're in a time in the sport where 60+% of Power 5 starting quarterbacks are transfers. It's just kind of what happens in this era. Those guys don't tend to stay at one place. Backups don't tend to wait. Starters get tempted by more money in the portal and want to jump up, and it's just the environment we're in.
Well, and it's such an environment that, and he's so high profile because of his lineage. I know you guys at 24/7 Sports reported yesterday that Arch Manning is staying at Texas, and he's the 3rd string quarterback.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I guess we did kind of say that he's expected to stay at Texas. I don't really think that's that was something that was a surprise to a lot of people necessarily. I think if you follow Texas football even a little bit, like, that's the expectation. The Manning family, I think, is pretty insistent that Arch stay. I think Arch is quite happy at Texas. Arch Manning went to Texas to play for Steve Sarkisian. I don't believe Steve Sarkisian's going anywhere.
Right.
Steve Sarkisian's not going anywhere. I don't anticipate Arch Manning going anywhere. So, yeah, the more interesting name in that room to watch is Malik Murphy and Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers with the NFL and Malik Murphy potentially with the portal.
And does it look like Will Rogers, the former Mississippi State starting quarterback, will head out west?
I put in a crystal ball for him to go to Washington. I think that's the most likely landing destination for him at this point. I think he's the SEC's 2nd all-time leading passer. He's somebody that I think would be a very capable replacement for Michael Penix. Not a one-to-one system. What Will Rogers did really well at Mississippi State is a little different than what Michael Penix does really well for Washington this season, but it would be a plug-and-play starter for Washington. I think a school like Miami could still enter the picture for Will Rogers a little bit. But I think, at least right now with the way the board sits, it's very likely that Will Rogers ends up at Washington.
And then as far as Dylan Gabriel, I was hearing some buzz last night about Oregon. I thought he might follow Jeff Lebby to Mississippi State because he had already been recruited to UCF by him. And as you pointed out, he was going to go to UCLA, and then at the last minute goes to Oklahoma with Lebby. What is the buzz around Gabriel right now?
Yeah, I mean, that Jeff Lebby connection is obviously strong. Lebby was his offensive coordinator at UCF. Lebby was the reason why he ended up at Oklahoma. And honestly, had Jeff Lebby stayed at Ole Miss as offensive coordinator and not gone to Oklahoma, I think Dylan Gabriel probably would have been at Ole Miss, and they wouldn't have Jackson Dart right now.
Wow.
Good point.
So that's the pull for Dylan Gabriel and Jeff Lebby. But I do agree with that Oregon statement. I think the Ducks have a real chance in this race. I think there's a strong pull to play in that program right now. I think Dan Lanning's done a great job. And I know, like, a lot of young Hawaiian quarterbacks, like Dylan Gabriel grew up watching Marcus Mariota. That Oregon program has a lot of pull for him, and I think they're definitely going to be a strong contender.
No doubt. And now, as far as defensive linemen, we've seen Walter Nolan go in. And I would expect, I know they've got their head coach in place now, and Mike Elko, who is very familiar with that program. He recruited some of those guys, but I know the quarterbacks, the NIL value has been estimated to be in the millions of dollars. $1 to $2 million for an established starter. How valuable in the transfer portal are defensive linemen? Are they second in the totem pole to an established quarterback as far as when you're tracking these guys and how heavily pursued they are? I mean, how is it positionally? We all know QB is obviously the most high profile, most important, but is defensive line a close second in your mind?
Yeah, I would say an impact interior lineman or an impact edge rusher is probably the second most valuable position in the portal, tied with maybe offensive tackle. It's really hard to find an impact offensive tackle as well. And then I think an outside wide receiver, like a true number one impact receiver, would be next on that list. It's really hard to find those as well, despite the volume of receivers. That's just how you win college football games now. So I would say those four positions are the most important.
Absolutely, and the one that kind of intrigues me because I know he didn't have a lot of success with his team, but Will Sheppard at Vanderbilt, watching him individually, they had inconsistent quarterback play, but I thought he was a really good player. I know I was hearing last night he's going into the portal and that he was already getting several offers from Mississippi State, Auburn, South Carolina. A lot of the SEC is pursuing him. I know you're going to be tracking a lot of these guys. Is he one of these? I think he's an under the radar guy. When you look at his numbers and you put him into context of where he played, that could make a big impact.
Yeah, I mean, he can definitely make a big impact. I know he was pretty unhappy at Vanderbilt this season. It didn't take a lot of watching him to understand that. He made that pretty clear. And I absolutely think he could be an impact player in the portal. I also think his teammate, London Humphreys, can be an impact player in the portal as well. Humphreys might actually have a higher ceiling than Sheppard, but it's, as I said before, it's really hard to find impact outside receivers, and both of those guys have the height, weight, speed, and have shown the ability to win 50-50 balls and make them extremely valuable. So I absolutely expect Will Sheppard and London Humphreys as well to be very popular names in the portal.
What about their teammate, DeRicky Wright?
Yeah, definitely another guy. Safeties, cornerbacks are also very valuable. I've been told it's going to be a pretty tough safety market, so DeRicky Wright, I absolutely expect to be another SEC caliber player if he chooses to stay in that part of the country. It is a difficult time for Vanderbilt. I think they're undergoing a pretty significant roster reset. We've seen a lot of their best players leave, including basically their entire quarterback room as well, which, if you watch Vanderbilt this year, probably not the worst thing, but I know they would have liked to have held on to some of these impact skill players. But yeah, no, DeRicky Wright will also be very popular in the portal.
And Chris, I was going to ask about as far as the timelines with Will Shepherd and Humphreys. I know a lot of these processes move quickly. We've already seen, if you told us, Will Rogers could pull the trigger soon for Washington. I know they can take multiple visits, but is there any early buzz with guys like Humphreys and Shepherd as far as, are they going to make quick decisions, or are they going to, let this process play out over a few weeks timeline?
At this point on Humphreys and Shepherd, I think the most likely landing spot for Humphreys is Georgia.
Gotcha.
Shepherd, I think, is a little more open. As far as decision timelines, I think it varies independently for a lot of these guys. Some of them will happen very quickly because a lot of guys go into the portal with a destination in mind, like somebody like Riley Leonard, for example. But kids will certainly take their time in their decisions, take visits. You get an unlimited amount of official visits in this era, I believe, including for transfers. And some of these kids are going to want to see as many places as possible. The only thing I can guarantee is the majority of them will be done by early January, because you have to be on campus for the next semester by early January. So we'll see an accelerated timeline for all of these people, and the large majority of them will be in the boat within the next month.
And I wanted to ask you, because you kind of hinted at it. When Scott and I talked about it earlier in the show with Riley Leonard, is Notre Dame considered the favorite for him? And then to also pivot, we haven't asked you about Evan Stewart. Is Alabama has been reported that they could be the favorite for Stewart? Is that still the case in your mind?
Notre Dame's definitely the favorite for Riley Leonard. I could not tell you who the favorite is for Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart hasn't entered his name in the portal.
True, that is true. It was just speculated, right?
Stewart's gone back and forth on whether he'll go in the portal. And if Evan Stewart does go in the portal, it will be a significant bidding war for Evan Stewart.
Yeah, no question. Well, great stuff, Chris. No doubt about it. Is there another maybe significant name in your mind that may go into the portal very soon that we haven't seen? I know Evan Stewart, that speculation has been out there, but as you rightly pointed out, he is not officially entered. Is there another maybe big name that may go in the next day or two?
There's certainly a lot of big names that we're tracking potentially. So I guess we'll just see what happens over the next couple days. Obviously, A&M's on watch. Guys like Evan Stewart and Walter Nolan have not officially entered the transfer portal. So we're watching for most of that roster. But there are definitely other players across college football that we're tracking. We'll see. I know some decisions to stay have even been made in the last 24 hours. That'll not get out there either. So, it's a fluid market right now.
No doubt. Well, let everybody know how to follow you, man. We really appreciate the time. We know how busy you are. We always appreciate the insight, and let everybody know how to follow you on 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, just as always, please check out our work at 24/7 Sports. We cover the transfer portal. I hope as well as anybody, and we'll have you covered for over the next couple months as it really picks up.
All right, Chris. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, y'all.
Chris Hummer there. Good stuff on the transfer portal. A lot of names going in. A lot of names have not gone in that will go in. So if you thought the numbers were high now, just wait. It's going to get higher. Let's get a break in. When we come back, phone lines are back open to you, 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a very minor accident in a very bad place. They're in a number 3 lane southbound on the Parkway just south of 565. Very minimal damage. Hopefully HPD will get there and get it moved out of the way shortly. Got South Cedar Cove and Mount Zion in Morgan County. That one may be an old one, and they still may be trying to clear one. Highway 24 in Lawrence County at County Road 359. That one was a serious one. Expert Heart Care backed by Advanced Technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the Heart Doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
These days, saving time is important, and saving money is even more so. That's where Eagle Masonry and Insulation comes in. Over the years, Eagle has expanded their services to meet the needs of folks like you in our area. If you're ready to lower your utility bills, Eagle can insulate your home and help you save money with fiberglass, spray foam, and cellulose insulation, and can help you decide what's best for your project. Call Eagle Masonry and Insulation today at 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time, and Eagle saves you money.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at North Alabama Mortgage. Are you thinking about home improvements? Well, use your equity now and refi later. Or use your equity to eliminate consumer debt forever, then refi to a lower rate and shorter term when rates drop. North Alabama Mortgage can also help you if you're thinking about buying an investment property or a second home at the lake or the beach or in the mountains. We have great programs to make that happen. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you Tuesday morning, 8:22 on a Tuesday. 256-576-4977. Let's go out to the phone lines. Brandon is with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
Morning, y'all.
Morning.
Well, I'm down here in the 36257, known as DeArmondville, Alabama.
Nice.
Nice place. Very nice place. Well, I wanted to ask you a question about games coming up Friday. So y'all have got some of your state championship games coming up Friday this week, correct?
Yes, the Super 7 starts on tomorrow with the 7A on Wednesday night. And then the rest of the Super 7, there will be 3 games on Thursday and 3 on Friday to wrap up the high school football season in the state of Alabama.
Now, does Alabama Public Broadcasting, so can you go to their website on your computer and stream it free of charge, or do you have to buy a subscription?
You know what? This is the first time I think it's been on public television.
Yeah, I don't, because I agree with Scott. I don't remember it being on Alabama Public Television last year.
This is the first year for it. It used to be they had it on. It used to be on all the Raycom stations back in the day. So all the Raycom stations would have it, and then they would just pick a game to show. Not all of them. Not every game would be shown. And then it shifted over. They have their WOTM or whatever it is. Yeah. Whatever they have it. That's on select markets. This is the first time statewide that you can watch every one of the state playoff games on public television. every game will be shown, so you can watch every game. But this is the first year for this.
Okay, well, the team that's next to me right here in center, I didn't know that I've got some friends that got some kids on that team. And I wanted to be able to watch it, but I didn't want to spend 7 hours on the road to go do it. So I was trying to make sure. So this is y'all's first year of it being on public broadcast, so that's really nice.
Yeah.
Might be able to catch several games because Cherokee County, correct me if I'm wrong, they smoked the crap out of whoever they played last week. Wasn't it like 50-3?
Yeah, it's 50-6, man. It was a dominating performance. They went over to Westminster and won. They got Jacob Cornejo, who's their all-time leading rusher. He's got 5,000 plus yards in his career.
God almighty.
They went to the 4A title game a year ago and lost to the Monsters from Andalusia. Andalusia had a great football team, but they're back in the 4A finals, and they're very, very good, very, very talented. And it's going to be a really interesting matchup because I believe, Scott, they've got Montgomery Catholic in the final.
Bright and early Thursday morning, 11 a.m. And I'm looking on the public television site. I don't see a watch live button. I don't see anything watch live. Now, they may put that on there once the games get going, so you can do that. But I don't know right now. I do not have that answer if you can watch it on demand there on Alabama.
I think it's 11 a.m. on Friday, Scott, because I believe the 11 a.m. on Thursday is the game we're going to be at.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about MA. Yeah. Montgomery. Yeah. MA
My
is
bad,
11 a.m.
there's Montgomery Catholic and then Madison Academy. So Madison Academy will be in the 3A game, as we know, against Mobile Christian.
Okay, my guy, I just got a text back. I got a friend worked at Cartoon Network down here in Atlanta. He was a pretty big guy before it was defunct. He says if you go there and click on View Full Schedule and then click on the right arrow tomorrow, he said you can keep clicking till you get to Friday, and then at 11 a.m. it shows.
It says like Watch Now, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's got a new button or a Watch Now, and he said it should. He said he figured out enough that it should populate, so you should be able to stream it from your phone or your computer. He told me he does not know if they have a Alabama Public TV app. I guess he hadn't got that far yet. But no, I'm interested in watching those games because being able to watch some good football during the middle of the week, during the day, that's worth gold. And Alcoa, Tennessee, saw some stuff on them. They've won the last 9 straight state championships in 3A up there, and they've won 10 out of 11.
Yep.
And because of their bracketing rules, they don't have to move out of 3A, but there is a major upheaval to try to throw them out of 3A. And I did a little bit of reading, and they have whooped multiple 5 and 6A schools, just beat the tar out of them like there's nothing. I mean, they've just run them over, and they claim they will not be moved from 3A. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this team if the state is going to come in and force them out of 3A and try to force them to 5 and 6 because they're tired of winning.
Hey, Brent, I hate to do it to you, but we are short on time. We got to get a break in because we got Jake Crain. Jake's got a limited schedule today, and so we want to work him in and get as much time as we can with Jake Crain because we got a lot, but we got to talk to Brandon, though, some more because we are coming your way on Sunday. But let's get a break in. When we get back, Jake Crain will join us coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 50s. It'll be chilly through the overnight, early into your Wednesday morning. Bundle up as you head out the door on Wednesday morning. We're going to start the day in the mid 30s. A mostly sunny sky Wednesday afternoon. It is going to be much cooler Wednesday afternoon across the Tennessee Valley. Instead of the upper 50s and lower 60s that we could see on Tuesday, dropping into the lower 30s through the overnight, early Thursday morning. A mostly sunny sky Thursday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid 50s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
They moved those cars out of the way in the number 3 lane of the Parkway southbound. That was south of 565. They've gone off to a parking lot. We had one at Cedar Cove and Mount Zion in Decatur. Sounds like it's about to be clear. And we've got 24 at County Road 359. That's in Lawrence County. That one was a major accident. Still may be working with it. The end of the year is coming. If you need temp admin or accounting help, Snelling can help. Snelling, how the area's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Watch the Alabama High School Super 7 Football Championship presented by Alabama Community College System December 6th through the 8th on Alabama Public Television. It's all the gut-wrenching, hard-hitting, high-flying action you've come to expect from...
Wait, Alabama Public Television? Okay.
Watch every game live December 6th through the 8th only on your new home for high school sports, APT.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, 8:30 on the dot on a Tuesday morning. And usually we get our next guest on a Monday, but Jacksonville State head coach Rich Rodriguez had free time yesterday, and it was the only time we could get him to talk about Jacksonville State getting to a bowl game. So Jake Crain graciously, Drew, was able to move to today.
Throughout the college football season, it's always great to catch up with him. He's, of course, co-host of Crain and Company via the Real Daily Wire, one of the best national shows in the country. You can see them on YouTube from 6:30 to 8 every morning. And gosh, I guess they've had a little bit they could talk about in the last few days through the weekend of Championship Saturday and on into this early part of the week with the transfer portal and everything going on. Jake, good morning, man. It's great to have you back in the Rocket City. How are you?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, it's been a crazy last 5 or 6 days for us with obviously the movie release. And listen, I'm fine going on a Tuesday. I'm down with being the side piece. That's cool.
No doubt. No, you're a mainstay for us. No question about it. But I know that it's been a huge topic for us. As far as talking about the college football playoff, how it played out, Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. But again, the floor is yours. We always respect your opinion. What was your thoughts on the college football playoff, and how it all played out?
Well, look, I mean, Alabama's a better team than Florida State when Jordan Travis isn't playing at Florida State. I'm not going to sit here and belabor that point. But what I will say is when the committee decided to put Alabama in over Florida State, they, in a big way, really made the regular season null and void. If it just comes down to the health status of your most important player, then why are we even playing a regular season? If we care about player safety, why don't we just take, before the year, instead of playing a season, we only need about 6 or 8 college football teams anyway, why don't we just take the NFL projections of the team you have currently, mix that with the recruiting rankings of the people on your roster, and let's just put the top 4 teams that get spit out. And the part that shocks me is nobody's been able to explain this to me. If Florida State is so bad that you put Bama in front of them, then how are they still good enough for the committee to rank them ahead of Georgia and Ohio State? How does that make any sense? If you were going to move Florida State down after the injury, why wouldn't you have moved them down after North Alabama?
Yeah.
Or even after Florida? Like, look, we know what this is. It is a rating, money. It's funny, we sit here and say, oh, well, money is power in every other business except college football, which is a billion-dollar industry. No, there was no way they were leaving out Greg Sankey. There was no way they were leaving out Nick Saban and this Alabama team, even with Florida State going 13-0, an undefeated Power 5 team, an undefeated Power 5 conference champion, got left out, right? Got totally left out when they were perfect. Florida State played their whole season for no reason. And yes, Alabama-Michigan will be a great matchup. I hope it's a fantastic matchup. But at the end of the day, it was the wrong decision because it renders the regular season null and void and sets a bad precedent. But, guys, you know deep down why they did it? Because this is the last year of the 14 playoffs. We'll never have this heated debate over an undefeated Power 5 conference champion again. Never, because we're going to 12. So I understand why they did it, but I still don't agree with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, did the committee, they didn't do themselves any favors with the second to last poll. I mean, if Florida State, kind of to your point, if Florida State and Jordan Travis were so bad, why did they keep them inside the top 4 the week before?
Yeah. Well, Scott, too, if Jalen Milroe gets hurt during bowl practice, we've seen Alabama's backups. They're so bad, one of them's going to play lacrosse. So if he gets hurt, do we put Georgia in there? Yeah. Right? If that's the rule, I don't want to hear anybody say that Georgia shouldn't be in there if Jalen Milroe gets hurt. And second off, how does Jordan Travis not win the Heisman now? Jordan Travis is so important to his team. They kept them out of the playoffs when he got hurt. If that's not the greatest player in the history of college football, then who is? How does he not win the Heisman?
Well, speaking of the Heisman, Scott and Steve Moulton are both voters. We've seen the 4 finalists that were named. No real surprise there, but because of how the weekend played out, and I know he hasn't played and we haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, but I would think Jaden Daniels would be the favorite. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Without a doubt. When Bo Nix and Oregon lost to Washington for the second time, I think that pretty much sealed the deal. I know there's some argument over whether Jalen Milroe should have gone instead of Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he should have. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be he's an incredible player. He's going to be an incredible NFL player. But I think Jalen Milroe should have been invited. But no, Jaden Daniels is your Heisman winner. He put up video game numbers, and his team went 9-3. And there's really nobody else that took it from him during the conference championship weekend. So, yes, Jaden Daniels is your Heisman winner. I tell you what, I'm interested to see in who all plays against Wisconsin in the ReliaQuest Bowl or, whatever, the Quaker Oats Bowl, whatever the hell it is now. But I'm interested to see who plays in that game because if Jaden Daniels plays and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. plays, I am going to take all the money I have and put it on the LSU total team point over.
Could you have made a better case for Malik Neighbors to be there over Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yes, you could have. I think the numbers bear that out, right? That the only difference, I guess, you could sit here and say is that, Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't have a Jaden Daniels, which isn't it crazy that Kyle McCord, the Ohio State quarterback in his first year as a starter as a young guy, goes 11-1, throws for 3,200 yards, and it's not good enough? Like, it's just we are in the weirdest time of college football. It's wild.
It really is, and you already mentioned it in your opening. And it's so wild that you have guys leave one school for a semester, go back to the same school, and play a different sport.
It's just baffling to me. Again, when you release, and I'm for name, image, and likeness, right? I get paid for my name, image, and likeness. I'm not going to tell somebody they shouldn't get paid for it, but there should have been guardrails put out. There should have been guardrails put out in the transfer portal, right? Instead of letting it just be a free-for-all. I mean, here's the thing. How many years are you allowed to play now? Does anybody really know that? Heck, Dylan Gabriel's about to play his, 11th year? That man's going to be making more money in college than a tenured professor. Like, it's the Van Wilder rule. It just absolutely blows my mind. We need to get some sense of order and some sense of rules back to college football because it's an unserious sport right now.
So we get the 4 teams. I mean, it is what it is now at this point. We got the 4 in there. Alabama and Michigan, Texas and Washington. How do you see it? What do you feel right now early on?
Well, look, I think Alabama's. I like Alabama over Michigan right now. I think Alabama's good enough up front to be able to hang in the fight. And the last time they saw a quarterback that could extend the play, little Tua hurt him at Maryland. I think Jalen Milroe's a little bit of a different flavor of ice cream than what they've gotten a lot in the Big Ten and how Alabama plays and kind of the improvisational quality of Alabama offensively. The question is going to come down to how well is Michigan able to run the ball against this Alabama defense. Look, J.J. McCarthy can run it. I think you're going to see some quarterback design runs, but we know who Michigan is. I like Alabama in that game right now off the cuff. I haven't locked it yet, but off the cuff I like Alabama. I look at Texas and Washington. I love the over. I think it's a 64.5. But at the end of the day, I do believe this Texas front seven can get to Michael Penix better than Washington's front seven can get to Quinn Ewers. If Alabama can't get to Quinn Ewers, I don't see Washington being able to get to him.
Well, and I know you've been outspoken about, the Auburn quarterback situation needing to be better. We talked to Chris Hummer earlier. Riley Leonard, he said the definitive favorite for him is Notre Dame. I know he has some connections to Auburn. I thought, Hugh Freeze might be heavily involved in that. Do you anticipate Auburn? And we know they were Grayson McCall's in the portal. They were involved with him last year. Do you look for Auburn to try to upgrade at the position, Jake?
Well, you look at all the players in there now. It's hard not to go, try and get one of them, to get one of the top dogs. I don't think you go just get anybody. You got to go get the right guy.
Right.
And with the transfer portal, just like at any position, it's what the market bears is what you can go get. And right now, at least at the quarterback position, and really honestly at a lot of positions, when you look at almost 1,200 people entering the portal yesterday, there's a lot of high-level quarterbacks that are better than what you have in Peyton Thorne. So if you can go out and get a guy that's better, that is willing to come in and fight for the job and has that right mindset that fits the system that Hugh Freeze wants to run, then yeah, you got to go get him. And I think he's out there right now. I think there's a couple guys, Riley Leonard being one of them, obviously Cam Ward. You got to have a guy that can run a little bit. There'll be more that enter the portal. Will Howard from Kansas State, that's an interesting name to look at. KJ Jefferson from Arkansas is an interesting name. So, yes, I do look for Auburn to go upgrade in the portal and create some more competition at that position.
So the Music City Bowl, if you look at it, and at the beginning of the year, if we say, okay, Auburn's going to the Music City Bowl, you look at the ups and downs that they had this year. Because remember, at the beginning of the year, people were saying, well, Deion Sanders should have been the Auburn coach, not Hugh Freeze. Is it an okay year, a good year for Hugh Freeze in year one?
Yeah, look, you got through it. You were competitive, obviously very competitive against Georgia and Alabama. You look at recruiting right now, there's a ton of hope. You just flipped Cam Coleman, another 5-star wide receiver. So, yes, look, I think Hugh Freeze in most of the games, I know it didn't end great, but in 90% of the games that they played where they were better than the other team, they won. And they didn't really – outside New Mexico State, and I guess you'd say LSU on the road, they didn't really get blown out. So I thought it was a good year. Obviously, the coaching staff isn't happy with 6-6. But, the standards should never be lowered, but reality should always be accepted. Auburn's heading in the right direction, and I expect Hugh Freeze and them to have a big jump in year two.
Yeah, I think they've got a chance to, no question about it. And overall, Jake, when you kind of take a look at I know you said you hadn't locked in the Alabama pick with Michigan, but real quick with Washington and Texas, they played last year in a bowl game. Washington won that game. Scott and I have kind of been talking about the Pac-12. Were they overvalued, undervalued? Washington was very impressive, though, beating a good Oregon team twice, because I had Oregon winning that game. What are your thoughts on the Oregon-Texas matchup? The Washington-Texas matchup. Let me apologize. I still like the Longhorns. I really like the way they're playing offensively, but what is your thoughts on the matchup?
I do like Texas. Look, Penix can make every throw. We know what they have at the wide receiver position. The game comes down to up front. That's where it's won and lost.
Right.
When you look at the Pac-12, in the greatest stroke of irony, they were as good this year as they've been in a long time. I just think Texas and that front seven on defense, going up against Washington's offensive line that's overperformed, I think they get to Penix a couple more times than Washington does at Texas. This game will be decided by 3 to 5 plays, guys. And when it is, I'll take the team that's better up front and rushes the passer better in Texas.
No question. And then finally, when we're looking at this transfer portal, it's crazy, no question about it. It's going to transform a lot of teams, and probably and could you pivot programs either in a negative or positive direction. What are you looking for as far as with the portal in the next 5 days to 2 weeks? How crazy is it going to get in your mind, and what's the storyline you're going to kind of be watching closest as we prepare for the playoff coming up on the January 1st?
Yeah, well, the transfer portal is only going to get crazier. We've seen that. It seems to not slow down. It seems to only speed up until it has to slow down because it closes. Obviously, people are going to be making decisions. The storyline I'm looking at leading up to from the transfer portal is obviously where these quarterbacks go. What's the best fit? You're hearing Dylan Gabriel to Oregon. A lot of people thought he was going to Mississippi State with Jeff Levy. But as far as the playoff teams, a lot of it comes down to, health. Obviously, who are you getting back? Some guys that have been hurt for most of the year, you're able to get back. That's what I'm going to be looking at, and it should be a great playoff, Phil.
No doubt. Well, Jake, we always appreciate it, man. Continued success, and we'll be definitely catching up soon. But thank you for taking some time today to join us on this Tuesday, and we always appreciate the talk with college football, man.
All right, man. We always appreciate y'all. Y'all do a heck of a job, and we'll talk next week.
All right, thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, Jake Crain with us. We got to get that break in. We're going to wrap this whole extravaganza up coming up after this.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got an injury wreck on the Arsenal now. Honest John and Snooper Road. Got Himsey responding to that one. Got one in Decatur that's reported as no injury. That one's in Danville in 8th. And we got that wreck in Lawrence County that's been working all morning. That's Highway 24 at County Road 359. They still have units out on that one. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Football season and Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. The perfect combination of good times and great food. This season, score big with one of our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer from our huge selection. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway in Huntsville and our new location at Cliff Farm, Highway 72 in Madison.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured, lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands on a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over until your body breaks down. But when it happens, there's only one law firm to call in Alabama. That's Pond Lehocky Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
The representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
If you're the kind of value shopper who waits to the end of the year because you know that's when the deals are the best, it's here. And there's no first payment for 90 days. Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford's Make the Holiday Bright sales event. And we've got the best selection of new and certified pre-owned Fords we've had in years. Right now, get financing as low as 2.9% for up to 72 months on 23 F-150s. America's best-selling truck for 47 years. 2.9 on F-150. And Woody Anderson Ford has over 100 F-150s to choose from. Great finance rates and no first payment for 90 days on all new Fords. We have financing as low as 1.9% for up to 60 months on 23 Explorer, Escape, and Bronco Sport 2. It's our year-end sales event, the best time of the year to buy, plus no first payment for 90 days, your good credit through Ford Motor Credit. This offer ends December 30th. Come by and make your holidays bright at Woody Anderson Ford. We hope to see you soon.
You'll love the expanded wine selection at Liquor Express. From special occasion to everyday table wines, they've got what you need. Meet your friends at the largest tap wall in Alabama with 105 rotating selections. Then take home a growler full of your favorite or choose from our 1,000 canned or bottled beers. Need help stocking your bar or planning your party? Liquor Express has a knowledgeable, professional in-house staff that can assist you with anything from your bar to the planning of your special event. Visit liquorexpress.net for tasting specials, giveaways, and classes.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
As we mentioned off the top of the show, 7 o'clock hour, Alabama no problems with Arkansas State last night, 89-65. Mark Sears, team high 13 points. He has now surpassed the 1,500 career point mark. Aaron Estrada has surpassed the 1,600 point mark with his 11 points last night. Alabama 44% from the floor, 42% from deep, 83% from the free throw line. 5 players in double figures in a game that Alabama never trails.
Yeah, Scott, got in the wee hours from the game. It was my first time to see Alabama in person. The only, I guess, negative besides I thought the defense was a little shoddy in the second half, but Grant Nelson had, a nasty baseline dunk, but he suffered a lower leg injury and missed the remainder of the game. Nate Oates basically said in postgame he felt like it was precautionary. They were already up big in the game, so they decided to take him out and immediately start giving him treatment. He had 11 points in the game because we all know what's coming. Alabama's got a very difficult 3-game stretch, and they've got to go to Toronto, Canada on Saturday and take on the number 1 ranked, Purdue Boilermakers and the National Player of the Year, Zach Edey. So they're going to need Grant Nelson. It also sounded like, I know we kind of talked about it in the last few days, Nick Pringle has been suspended and missed this game for Alabama. He was on the bench in street clothes. But according to Nate Oates in the press conference last night, he and Pringle have talked it out, and I believe he is going to be available against Purdue because they need everyone against the Boilermakers. They certainly played well enough offensively last night. Even it wasn't a tremendous shooting performance, but still put 89 on the board. But the key is they've got to rebound better. They gave up 15 offensive rebounds to Arkansas State and Brian Hodgson, the former assistant to Nate Oates. They only won the rebound battle 45-40. So they've got to do a little bit better job there. And they've got to defend better because Purdue. I mean, I know everybody understands they were the second team to go down as a 1 seed to a 16, but Virginia responded the next year and won it all. And so far, this Purdue team, and they've played a pretty tough schedule too. They have been very impressive, and Alabama's going to need to play their best game of the year to have a shot in this game. Sears, as you said, went over 1,500 points. Estrada went over 1,600. The one thing, they did get double digits out of Muhammad Wagee last night. He did give them 3 blocks and some pretty good work on the glass. But at times, Alabama did not rebound well nor defend very well in the second half. And they were up, 30-plus and allowed, Arkansas State to close, within around in the low 20s. So I just think overall, this is an Alabama team that's still a work in progress. They're 7-2 right now, 6-2 right now. Pardon me. But they've got as tough a stretch coming up as anyone in the country when you're talking about going to Toronto to play Purdue. Then you're going to be at Creighton on the 16th, and then of course Arizona in Phoenix. So this is going to be a very, very difficult 3-game stretch for Alabama before they return home on the 23rd to play Eastern Kentucky.
Just one other SEC game last night. Arkansas dispatches Furman 97-83. Coming up tonight on the SEC, you're going to get 17th ranked Tennessee, George Mason, Florida, Merrimack, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Ole Miss, Mount St. Mary's. Just some light basketball there from the conference. So, top 3 finalists for the Heisman announced yesterday. Is shocked by any of it? Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. all invited to New York. And if you have to think Marvin Harrison Jr., the odd person out there, he's going to finish fourth in this balloting.
Yeah, I was a little even surprised he got invited, honestly, Scott. I know he's a great player, but I would have thought that you and I kind of talked about it, that it would have been a 3-horse race. The 3 quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, certainly Bo Nix and Michael Penix, and you would have thought that would have just been the final 3. But you know how it is. It's different every year. It depends on how many votes you get.
Yeah.
And Marvin Harrison Jr. got a ton of votes and had a great year. But like you rightly pointed out earlier to Chris Hummer and also to Jake Crain and to our listeners as well, Malik Neighbors had even better numbers than Marvin Harrison Jr. I know their team didn't have as good a year as Ohio State did, but you could make a case for Malik Neighbors being there as well, even though his quarterback is likely going to win it. Marvin Harrison will probably win the Biletnikoff, but Malik Neighbors statistically had as good a year, if not better, than anyone.
Yeah, and you look at the regions, I guarantee you Marvin Harrison Jr. will win the Midwest region.
Yeah.
He'll get the votes in the Midwest region. Jaden Daniels will take the Southern region. Michael Penix Jr., that's where it's going to be interesting, because Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix, how are they going to split the West Coast votes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. That may kind of help Jaden Daniels get over the hump, but I think Jaden Daniels is going to win it, no doubt about it. And I wanted to give a shout out too, and I know you know a lot about their program, and we honored them at our Rocket City Awards this past year in our inaugural Rocket City Awards show. But got to give a shout out to the Huntsville Crimson Panthers, swimming and diving, 8th straight state championship, Scott. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Luke Bedsel sets a new state record in the 50 free and the 100 free, brings home first place there. They had others that did just as well. I believe their 200 medley relay, I believe, set a new state record. So they were definitely – Bradford Johnson had an outstanding meet as well down there at Auburn. And I believe Luke Betzel's 50 free record, and his dad will probably be mad at me for not remembering this correctly, but I believe it was a new Southeastern Swimming LLC record as well. So he had a fantastic meet. And, of course, Luke Betzel has committed to swim for Auburn after his time there at Huntsville High. So, hey, maybe maybe our good friends at Bryant Bank can hand them a check.
Uh-oh. Are we hinting at something, Scott?
Why not? I mean, why not? We can just give away money.
Yeah, we're just giving it away.
We'll just give it away. I mean, we've got carte blanche. We'll just write a check for $500.
Yeah, well, I think the check is still somewhere in the.
It is. It's here. We can just change the name, and we'll just give them $500.
Hey, man, when I went out to West Morgan, I was just nervous because I almost left the check at the station, so that would have been great.
Well, no, I mean, and we did. We gave Whitesburg Christian Academy a check for winning a state championship. We got to give one to Huntsville High.
Yeah, I mean, 8-0.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas.